the Truth, Money, and Freedom podcast.
Welcome to Truth, Money, and Freedom. Today is Thursday, April 29th, 2021. Good morning, gang. Got some stuff to report to you about the Second Amendment Preservation Act in the state of Missouri, and I want to talk about a few other things, too. This is actually an email that I got from Ron. It's extremely positive. So I want to let you know, and then also, too, let me do the call to action here real quick. The call to action is basically really simple. Continue calling senators, voicing your support for the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Call your sheriff and ask them to go public and go on the record where they stand with SAPA. This will be important later. So this is something I would ask everyone to do. My sheriff, of course, is Sheriff Cole. Brad Cole has gone on record in Christian County, so we know where he stands. I don't need to bother him. I have contacted many other sheriff's offices by email and received absolutely no emails in return asking them to go public. So I would ask everyone where you live in your county, ask if you don't know where they stand or if they're not on Ron's map, please call them up and find out where they stand. This is important. Ask them to contact Ron Calzone at MissouriFirst.org and for them to actually send him an email with a public statement where they stand on SAPA. That'll give us a voting map for when sheriffs, their terms come due in office, and that way we'll know whether or not they supported the Second Amendment Preservation Act. But I'm not going to read the whole letter here with Ron, but I felt it necessary to comment a little bit because we live streamed the Senate proceedings, and that was actually 2 days ago. And for those of you, and there were a lot of you that joined, and I'm really happy you joined, it was somewhat embarrassing for you guys to see two of our senators, one from Kansas City and one from St. Louis, go on and on and on with incredible misinformation, somewhat dubious opinions on the Second Amendment Preservation Act, on firearms in general, and the Second Amendment. So, but there was another one here that I would like to talk about, and that was, let's see, I'm going to read directly here from Ron's email. I pasted it right here into Word. Near the end of the audio, you'll notice an amendment that is offered that would make it illegal for anyone to sell a firearm to someone on a no-fly list. Senator Burleson then offers a point of order in objection. The audio goes silent while the Senate Rules Committee considers the point of order. You guys remember that. That did go silent. It was out for nearly half an hour, actually. And, we continued talking during that time. And really it was, I think we became a giant support group after having to listen to those two women go on and on and on. But here's the importance of what happened there. The intent of the amendment offered by Senator Beck was to embarrass SAPA supporters who vote against the amendment. They would be accused of wanting terrorists to have guns. This is where some of Ron's previous work, and God bless Ron Calzone. I mean, he's just amazing. Every state needs a Ron Calzone. Representative Jared Taylor and Senator Eric Burleson, the sponsors of SAPA, anticipated these sorts of attacks, and they already built a defense against it into the bill's title, which says they filed the bill for the sole purpose of adding additional protections to the right to bear arms, or the Second Amendment. This bill invokes a little-known legal doctrine brought to the forefront in a recent Missouri Supreme Court case called Calzone versus D.C. That would be Ron Calzone, who argued this in the state Supreme Court, in which the Supreme Court said, when a bill's title includes a statement that the bill is for the sole purpose of some particular or detail, these particulars or details define the purpose of the bill, and that purpose cannot be expanded. Well, if it was expanded to the no-fly list, basically that goes beyond the point of order of the original intent of the bill, which is to provide additional protections for the Second Amendment. In the case of SAPA, the purpose is to protect gun rights. Since Beck's amendment was outside the purpose, it was going to be ruled out of order, so he withdrew his amendment. Guys, that was an important point, and and I know that a lot of you kind of found it painful. I mean, I broadcast the House proceedings as well. It's still on my channel. And now the Senate proceedings so far, and there's more to come next week. I'll get into that in a second. This is historically important, and I'm documenting this on my channel because other states are going through the SAPA process. If your state is going through the SAPA process, consider my channel a valuable resource. Certainly let your senators and representatives in your state know about the videos that I have done where I have broadcast the proceedings, so they know what the arguments are going to be in advance, and they can immediately shut them down. They'll be ready for them. Even though I'd like to give a shout out to Sheriff Brad Cole, or not Brad, Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. I forget his name right now. He actually had constructive criticism for SAPA. And that was very important. That was the first time we had a sheriff actually come forward and say, hey, I like your bill, but change this because we need to define what this means. And it was incredibly constructive, and it was powerful, and it's been added to the bill. And it had to do with kidnappings over state lines. And once again, I don't want to go into that right now, but if there's a firearm involved in kidnappings over state lines, can the Fed come and help? So that's been dealt with now. And I think that when a sheriff comes forward and says, hey, we got to make the bill better, that makes me happy. That means there's a sheriff on board. He believes in the Second Amendment. He believes in SAPA, but he knows because he's got experience in something he's had to do before, or his office has had to do before, that the Second Amendment Preservation Act needs to address because of a particular. So these things are helpful, rather than Sheriff Arnott in Greene County, Springfield, or Sheriff Brad Cole in my county, Christian County, come forward and just say, the bill sucks, we're not going to support it, it's horrible, we need the Fed in our state for everything firearms. So those are sheriffs that need to be voted out of office. They are not Second Amendment sheriffs. They will tell you all day long they're Second Amendment, and then they'll say that, but the Second Amendment Preservation Act is a horrible, horrible bill and should not be, supported in any way, shape, or form. I'd like to give you the good news, is that things are going very, very well for the Second Amendment Preservation Act, and it's looking like this is going, by the way, we'll be touching on this again next week. It's literally next week in May. And the reason being is they're finishing up the budget, and we have roughly 2 weeks left to get this bill passed, and it looks like we're going to make it over the finish line with what we have going on right now. And there's a lot of whispers of very strong support coming from the caucus. Let's just call it the Republican caucus. So that's very, very encouraging. And I want to say, first of all, thank you to everyone who has participated in this process. Not just watch the videos. That's not enough. Those of you who made phone calls, you sent emails, you sent physical letters, or you visited Jeff City. You guys are the ones making this happen, along with Ron Calzone. I can't say enough good about this man. He has been a pillar of strength, wisdom, and knowledge throughout this entire process. He has fought endlessly. He has given endless hours to this. I mean, endless. Once again, guys, remember now, this started for us in 2013. And I believe this is the 6th time that we have tried to pass it. There's been a couple of years where we didn't put it out on the floor. So the point is this. This is and by the way, I will address my anarchist friends. I will address them, but I need to get this passed first, and then I can work with you guys on the psychology of getting such bills passed. But the big gun channels, and you guys all know who they are, I don't need to bring them up, even the small gun channels that are concentrating on what's going on in DC and trying to shut that down, I literally don't get it. I don't get it. Either they don't have the experience I have, or they're all about views and monetization of their channels. That for literally sending petitions out and calling U.S. senators and representatives for them to stop. You guys have to realize the Republicans are going after guns too. If you guys don't believe me, look into what Rubio's doing right now. And I don't want to talk about federal stuff right now because, frankly, I just don't care. I care about my state using the 10th Amendment to shore up my freedoms. That's what I care about. And also, I understand that I can affect change in the state. Indeed, all of you are seeing this right now. You can affect changes on your state level. And I'm sorry, by the way, I need to comment on one other thing here before I move on here. And that is to a lot of friends that have been emailing me or writing comments, when are we going to get financial news, silver news, and all that again? And that's coming up soon. As soon as we get SAPA passed, I can get back on track with that kind of stuff. And I apologize. You guys, most of you who are watching my channel know that I went through this bond issue in my local school district when I had to take about 2 weeks off to shut down. And it did fail. So we were successful. My wife and I worked very hard on that. But now we're concentrating on SAPA and getting it across the finish line. That is getting my full attention right now. And it's not just because of my desire to get this done for myself. It's actually to get something positive done for my daughter and my grandkids. And for your kids and your grandkids. That's why you're doing it too. We've had this freedom for a long time. There are people in Washington working very hard to take them away. What can we do to preserve these freedoms? This is why I disrespect what the large channels are doing right now. They really, really, really don't care about solutions. They care about clicks and monetization. That is the only logical explanation. And I could go into, again, how Jimmy D and I have literally begged these guys to help us bring attention to this bill. They won't do it. They absolutely will not do it because there's just very little money in it. Well, I'm not about money. The channel is not monetized, period. So you guys notice this. There's never any commercials on my channel. I have no interest in doing that. I'm interested in spreading freedom. That's what I want. I'm a libertarian. And I'm gonna do a video very soon about us libertarians and the threat we're under by this government, the very same government that the big Second Amendment channels are begging you to call up to shut down, basically all these gun-grabbing bills. And now they're going after libertarians. And like I said, very important point, and I've already got notes. I'm going to make a video on that, but Second Amendment Preservation Act has to come first. Okay, so I wanted to give you this positive message. What you can do, the call to action, call your senators. Please call your senators. Keep voicing your support for the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Ron is even asking people to send a short email to Senator Schatz and Rodin, thanking them for bringing SAPA to the floor and for their commitment to passing it, because they've made a commitment. So we really do need to thank them, even though I've been very critical of Schatz because he held on to this bill for 10 weeks and rather than let it go to the floor. But it turns out that it didn't really matter that it was being held on to for 10 weeks. I want to be cautious in thanking him as well, because we're not across the finish line yet. But guys, we are getting very close to this finish line right now with the Second Amendment Preservation Act in the state of Missouri. So let me cover a few other things. First off, you will find in the links section down below the new bill that it's gone through part of a perfection process with the Senate, and that's the live stream that you guys heard the other night. It's got sections from HB 85, which is the House version of the bill, and it's a really good bill, and it's still got every single one of its teeth. So don't worry about it being watered down. It's not the original bill that we started with at the beginning of this year, but it's still a very, very good bill, and it's certainly more potent than anything else that's out there. Name a state, we still have, right now, the most powerful bill. I'm going to put the list of senators down below so you guys can give them a call. And Rodin and Schatz are right here. So you guys can give them a call or click on their names and send them an email and thank them for their commitment to supporting the Second Amendment Preservation Act. The relationship is this. Dave Schatz is the president of the Senate, or the Senate pro tem. And then the Caleb Rodin is the deputy pro tem. So that's who they are in the Missouri Senate. Once again, guys, this is all Missouri state stuff. This has nothing to do with the federal government. I'll leave a link to the actions for the bill, SB 39, and I won't leave up anything for HB 85 at this time. That always remains a failsafe. If we have problems with 39, SB 39, we can whip out HB 85 at any time and replace the bill with it. And then I want to talk about Arkansas. They have the Arkansas Sovereignty Act, which was passed by their House and their Senate, and actually ended up going to the governor's desk, and the governor vetoed it. Now, this is a strange situation, and there's more data that I can't bring to the table right now, but it is important. And that is, the governor actually said this, in quotes, by the way: "The partnership between the state and federal law enforcement officers is essential for the safety of Arkansas citizens. This will break that partnership and put the safety of Arkansans, or whatever, at risk." Okay, I've got a lot to say. He actually said quite a bit there, but he's wrong. He's absolutely 100% wrong. He is basically saying to anyone right now who's listening to him that Arkansas needs the federal government in order for people in Arkansas to be safe. This is patently false. Shame on you, Governor Hutchinson, for even suggesting that. People don't need the federal government to be safe. What they need is the ability to conceal firearms without a permit. And then once you have that established, which they do have established in their state, now people in Arkansas can take personal responsibilities for their own safety. It's personal responsibility. It's what it comes down to. This is what the Founding Fathers talked about. Everyone should have guns. Everyone. And yes, bad people have guns too, but if everyone has guns, the bad people end up getting killed at some point in time. If they're going to do harm to others with their guns, they will get shot and killed. You know, this is the way it works. The federal government's idea is, no, we can't take that risk. Good people could get killed. So it's better that all good people give up their firearms, and that way there's it's less likely for bad guys to get guns, because bad guys steal from good guys. It doesn't hold water. Bad guys will still have guns for quite a while before they're actually cycled out of the system. Not to mention the fact ghost guns exist, or 3D printed guns. Their argument is mute. Everything they're trying to do in Washington, D.C. is about taking away your Second Amendment, which, according to the Constitution, they can't do, because you got this right from God. God, the creator of the universe, gave you the right to self-defense. So because of that, you have the right to bear arms, which shall not be infringed. And those yahoos in Washington, D.C. do everything they can to keep taking away these rights from you. And the other big channels are saying, oh, that's okay. Just call them in the Senate. Call them in the House and tell them to stop taking away your rights. Guys, I'm sorry, my mind doesn't work this way. My mind tells me the 10th Amendment gives all rights and all power to the states that were not assigned to the federal government in the Constitution of the United States. The Second Amendment is not there to be tampered with. Period. Shall not be infringed. Period. This is a very simple concept. And my anarchist friends, I'm going to have Freedom Inc. Freedom Inc., if you guys know him, he is a good friend of mine. We disagree on some of the issues here having to do with the Second Amendment Preservation Act, creating another law to actually protect a freedom that's guaranteed in the Constitution. And I understand that point of view. And I like and respect Freedom Inc., despite the fact we disagree on what I'm doing. And I understand his point of view too. But I think that for the sake of actually defining the argument about the Second Amendment, I think it would be really awesome if Freedom and I had we did a show together, a debate. And I think it would be incredibly informative for those people out there who don't understand one point of view or the other. And Freedom is a really good friend of mine, actually. We talk on the phone from time to time, and I know he would be up for that. And I respect him, and I think that his point of view is very important too. Extremely important. In fact, I agree with his point of view. But then you bring in psychology and perspective, and that's where you get my point of view. Okay, so let me finish on with what's going on in Arkansas. So this bill was vetoed, and it's now in the process of being deconstructed. Here's the reason why. It gets actually pretty interesting here. And the reason why is because the Second Amendment Preservation Act, they borrowed our language. Well, all the states really have borrowed our language. And once again, I will go back to Ron Calzone. I'm going to actually officiate a Ron Calzone Day when this Second Amendment Preservation Act thing is done. An official Ron Calzone Day on our channel. What happened was, we have a thing in the Second Amendment Preservation Act that says basically anything that creates a chilling effect, including taxes on firearms, firearm accessories, and on ammunition. Well, unfortunately, Arkansas had a program where basically their DNR was funded through these taxes. So that created a huge stumbling block. So we have adjusted the language, or we're in the process of adjusting the language in our bill right now to accommodate this, to make sure there's no misunderstandings on taxes for firearms, firearm accessories, or ammunition. So I have a bad feeling Arkansas is not going to get their Second Amendment Preservation Act this year because of what I just said. We need to support our brothers and sisters down in Arkansas and make sure that they do get some protection. So I have reached out to the senator and representative that sponsored the bills down in Arkansas. I know that Ron Calzone's been talking to them as well. And Ron is just such an awesome guy. I mean, he offers help to other states, with the language of their bills and everything. And that gets complicated, gang, because Ron, his brain is only so big. But he in his brain is contained the United States Constitution and all the amendments, and not to mention the Missouri Constitution and all the amendments, not to mention precedent law having to do with things, 10th, 2nd, 4th, 1st amendments, and actually jurisprudence too. Just say all 10 amendments. So in his brain, he literally can come up with this stuff just like this. This is something most of us can't do. And I want to remind everyone about our third amigo, David Burden, who was working the Second Preservation Act with Jimmy D and I. He was also one of those guys. They're very few and far between, gang, and they're incredibly helpful for getting bills like this done. Okay, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for right now, but next week, things heat up again. SAPA goes right back on the floor. I will, and this is on the Senate floor, which we don't have cameras for, I will carry that live when it happens. So basically, we will have live coverage. This is historic. Things are going right through right now, and it looks very positive that we will have a finished bill at the governor's desk fairly quickly. It's really starting to look that way. But I don't want us to let up the pressure. And guys, especially, a call to arms one more time. Email senators, please. Call them. And continue voicing your support for SAPA and why you want SAPA. Not just, hey, I support SAPA, thank you for your time. Tell them why you support SAPA. There's a lot of reasons to support SAPA. You want your kids to have, the same freedoms you had with the Second Amendment. That you're frightened by what's going on in D.C., and there seems to be no stopping these monsters in D.C. SAPA stops it, at least for the state of Missouri. And I understand there's arguments against that as well. We'll get into that when I talk with Freedom. And but other reasons to like SAPA is, basically it's the beginning of getting the federal government out of your state because they're abusing their power. Remember now, these powers are on loan from the states. All the powers that the federal government has are on loan from the states, except for a couple that are guaranteed in the Constitution to the federal government. It's time to take them back. That's what we're doing. We're using the Constitution, the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, to get the Second Amendment back, and all the freedoms that come with the Second Amendment back in the state of Missouri. Other states have done this too, Arizona and Montana. Arkansas has failed. But we are at their disposal to help them get it done. This is very important. This is not just for Missouri, gang. This is for every single state of the Union. Get the federal government out of your states for the Second Amendment. It's time to do that. They're getting too draconian up in D.C. This is the only real solution. And there are other solutions, unfortunately, but we can't talk about them. We just can't. So, call to arms. Once again, call your sheriffs. Ask them to publicly state, this is important, publicly state where they stand on SAPA. And I know that there are ones that literally say, I'm sorry, I won't do that. Well, that's because they're cowards. They're cowards, and they're afraid of their next election. That's what it is. I mean, let me be very plain with you. It's because they do not want to publicly state that they do not support SAPA. They want federal money coming into the sheriff's offices, and they're afraid if they publicly stand against SAPA, they will lose the federal funding. This is true. This does happen. But it's important that we find out where they stand. Do we want someone who literally says, no, the Fed can come into the state and do whatever they want? Or someone saying, hey, listen, we need protections of our citizens from all this shenanigans going on at the federal government. We want sheriffs to actually make a stand. Tell us where you stand, sheriffs, please. Brad Cole, my sheriff, I know not to vote for you. In fact, I know to actively campaign against you because of your stance against SAPA. You don't want me to have my Second Amendment freedoms. You want the federal government to come in with all of their bull crap they're doing right now, all these bills for, my goodness, registration of firearms. So apparently Brad Cole wants that. Brad Cole, and that's federal registration, my friends. Make no mistake here, this has nothing to do with gun stores. He also apparently wants them to do restrictions and ultimately confiscations on AR-15s and AR-10s because he doesn't want the Second Amendment Preservation Act. He's saying we need the Fed. We need the Fed. No, we don't. Not on anything firearms, we don't. That's the purpose of the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Brad Cole, I will actively campaign against you because of your stance on SAPA. And I can't do anything about Arnott. He's in a different county. But those of you in Springfield or in Greene County in general, in Missouri, you guys know to vote against Arnott and to actively campaign against him. Support his opponent, someone else who is a strong Second Amendment supporter, someone who will go on the record saying they support SAPA. All right, well, I've gone on for way too long. But guys, we're almost across the finish line here. This is for real. Keep up the pressure. There's no reason to be angry. There's no reason to make angry phone calls. Things are going quite well. Keep voicing your support. Sheriffs and senators and representatives have all admitted that this is the most popular bill they have ever seen in the state of Missouri. Overwhelming support. It's because of you guys. All of you guys out there making phone calls, sending emails, making visits, sending physical letters. Thank all of you, and especially thanks to Ron Calzone, who put this all together, who has worked with directly with the senator and the representative, worked with all the senators and representatives to get this done. And we're not across the finish line, so there is no congratulatory or victory dance going on here. But at the same time, we will keep up the pressure, and I wanted to deliver some good news because it's usually bad news. It's a problem that we're dealing with, and right now, the problems that we dealt with in the live stream, you guys heard that 2 nights ago, have all been dealt with, and actually they helped our cause a great deal. It's important for people to know that, and for posterity, for other states going through the process. Let those stupid arguments happen publicly, on the floor of the Senate, on the floor of the House of Representatives in your state. It helps your cause, just like it did ours. Okay, gang, that's all I have for you for now. Thank you again for watching Truth, Money, and Freedom. Sorry about the lack of videos coming out. I'm quite busy with a lot of stuff going on. A lot of this is Second Amendment Preservation Act stuff happening in the background. I am making a tremendous amount of phone calls. I call the senators every day now. Every single day I go through the entire list and call each and every one of them. I encourage you guys to do the same, please. Support SAPA. That's what we're calling them to do, and we're explaining why. Okay, gang, you all have a wonderful day. May God bless each and every one of you.